This is Stock Talk, a discussion of stocks in the news with the analysts of Zacks.com. Today we discuss the stock of Marvel Entertainment, MVL, the ticker symbol. It's in the news lately because, according to published reports, the industry's largest publisher of comic books, revenues for its print products have been quietly growing by double digits for the past 3 years. Not only that, but the company's profit margins have been running at close to 40%. And here to discuss all of this with me is Tracy Reinick, our value stock analyst for Zacks.com. And right next to her, Michael Vodicka. Michael analyzes momentum stocks for us at Zacks.com. And there is one interesting message here, I think. And the writer of one article even brought it up, not the least of which is a reminder that new formats for media don't necessarily replace old. I think that's a story to be told here. Because even though we've got all of the superhero movies that have come out lately based on comic book characters, still the old-fashioned comic book is kind of quietly, growing in the background.
Well, it is. I mean, they're still making money off of it, but it's still not the money generator that their movies are. The thing is, they're really stealing from the small publishers now. Marvel and DC Comics now control 80% of the comic book publishing industry,
right.
And they've been slowly gaining on that. So they're not really expanding their market share the way that the numbers appear that they are. They're mainly stealing from the small guys that can no longer compete.
Well, in the quarter ended June 30th, publishing for the company accounted for $32 million of their $157 million in revenues.
It did.
That's nothing to sneeze at.
No. And, they're seeing that grow. I think they said 3 to 7% next year. That's not awful, but it's not really their bread and butter. And the comic book part of it isn't really where they're making the most of the revenue. It's mainly off of their trade paperbacks.
Apparently licensing brings in a big dollar for them.
Well, that's 80% of their revenue now. And that's easy. That's just licensing out the characters. And, so that's easy money. They make huge margins on that. If they're making 40% margins on the comic books, they're making 80% on their licensing.
Especially since Iron Man.
Well, yeah, they didn't expect Iron Man to do quite as well as that did. Hulk did pretty respectable. They raised their revenue guidance on the two movies. It was like 60 to 80 million for the year, and now it's 120 to 140 million.
Well, apparently Iron Man revenues haven't even shown up yet.
Well, right, but they're raising in anticipation of what's coming the next couple quarters.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and they have a great movie lineup coming down the pike, but who knows? It's the movie business.
Well, they're in a part of the media sector that's considered a duopoly right now. Mike, what do the charts look like on this company?
Marvel has been a pretty steady player for a number of years now. They've been publicly traded since 1999, and since about 2003 when their share price bottomed out at about $7, they've been in a steady climb higher, as you can see by the chart here. In 2008, they opened the year trading at $25. They topped off at $38, and they are trading right around $30 right now. So they're pretty deep in the green for the year, which is a big deal in this environment when many companies are trading down 25, 50% here.
Stock, I mean, the stories that I've seen show the stock is up nearly 90% over the past 5 years.
That sounds about right here. Yeah, like I said, I traced it back to 2003 when the stock bottomed out, and since then that's when the market kind of took off. And since then, yeah, it's been on a heck of a run. And really, the share price appreciation has been predicated on consistent earnings. This is a company that's been able to deliver in and out quarter over quarter, regardless of the underlying fundamental circumstances. And we've seen that show up in their quarterly earnings, which over the last 4 quarters they've beat every quarter by an average of 13 cents or 35%. So they've done well.
So we're all in agreement, I guess, that in the midst of all of the negativism out there about the markets and the economy, this is at least one standout positive performer.
It is, absolutely. I'd say so. And another thing, too, I want to mention about Marvel is kind of an area of the market that allows people to take themselves away from their day-to-day problems. Although the economy's bad, we have this war on our hands. It's like it's an escape route. So I think that plays into their business model right now.
Hey, I'm all over that. A little entertainment, old-fashioned as it may be.
Sure, something to make you feel good.
Yeah. And the superheroes are popular now. A lot of them were created during the Great Depression, actually. Several of the main big names were created in the bad eras. So they, again, are seeing an increase in popularity right now.
So now do you think that this company has put themselves in a position for this end of their business that they're constantly going to have to one-up themselves going forward in order to keep this momentum going?
Maybe.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, there's only so many characters they can leverage, and like Tracy mentioned, they have seen a pretty big revenue stream out of their movies, so they are limited in that capacity, but like Tracy mentioned, coming down the line, they do have some big projects. So
Yeah, they're doing a musical on Broadway that's been in the works for a while. Spider-Man apparently is going to Broadway,
Oh,
kind
really?
of modeled after The Lion King and The Little Mermaid because they saw what Disney was able to do with those two shows. And so they've hired Bono to do the music, and the woman who directed The Lion King is on tap to direct the Spider-Man the musical.
That's an interesting concept in itself, I
It
think.
is.
Bono doing the Spider-Man musical. All right. Well, according to most industry estimates, some 60% of comic book sales still take place the old-fashioned way in the comic book store.
That's right.
So this is probably a genre that's not to be counted out here, at least anytime soon, especially since I think we were talking with you on a different segment about the Japanese
Yes.
comic book market
Yes, it's booming.
booming.
Yes,
It's a whole thing that who knows where this might head.
right.
Maybe take a cue from over there and show a resurgence here.
Yep.
You just never know. Do either of you own this company?
no.
No.
All right, we've been talking about the stock of Marvel Entertainment. If you have a stock in the news that you would like to hear us analyze for you, just send us a note to mailbag@zacks.com, and we'll be more than happy to consider your suggestions for future segments. With Tracy and Mike, I'm Terry Ruffalo.